Hi Booktube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw coming to you guys from outside this time, doing things a little differently, doing it a little bit vlog style for the Booktubeathon. Happy Booktubeathon, happy Monday. I am officially putting up my Booktubeathon TBR and then I'm getting right into the reading. I'm hoping to keep it mainly graphic novel focused, although there are a couple of big books that I want to go ahead and get wrapped up, and I will mention those. But I'm mainly using the Booktubeathon to take a little bit of a break and get caught up on the very large pile of graphic novels that I still have to read, that I've been slowly bringing home and kind of collecting over the past couple of months. And I'm hoping to just knock them out this week. I'm not sure how many of the filming challenges I'll be doing, because I'm really hoping to mostly focus on the reading, but we will see. So without further ado, I'm going to take my glasses off to kill the glare. Sorry guys. Let's go ahead and get into the actual book list. Remember last week when I did my July wrap up and I told you guys I was all done with this book and how much I loved it? That was a pre-filmed, very ambitious lie, because I have not finished it, although I am still loving it. It is Dead House Gates by Steven Erikson. This is the second in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I did get a very large chunk of this read, so I am currently sitting at a little over the halfway point. But I just had too much work to do Thursday and on Friday, and sometimes when you pre-film, that's what happens. So I still had to finish this up, and I know for a fact I will do it sometime this week. Hopefully like a chapter a day, maybe a little bit more than that, alongside the other stuff I'm reading. The other really big book I have to get finished up, or want to get finished up, is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 1 of the Stormlight Archive. It's a doozy. I'm only, where's my actual bookmark? Page 167. Side note, I don't know if you guys know this. I do the 2 bookmark system. I break off the amount of pages I want to read in that sitting with a post-it note, and then I mark where I actually am in the book with the bookmark, so that actually gives me a way to kind of like see at a glance where I am versus where I want to be. And so yeah, just a little insight into how I do my bookmarking and like keep track of where I put my books. But yes, I'm hoping to knock this out as well. That is part of the reason I'm keeping everything else kind of focused on the graphic novels, because those are relatively short, and I should be able to knock the 2 longer books out and clear up the rest of my reading list for August. On to the graphic novels. I saw about this first one over on the Bookright channel. It's called Just So Happens. And there was a video done on just absolutely gorgeous graphic novels in terms of their graphics and their drawing style. And this was one that was recommended, and I'm so glad that it was, because it is absolutely gorgeous. It's done internally in these like beautiful muted watercolors. You can see that span of green right there that I just absolutely love. I got so wrapped up in listening to them talk about the artwork, I basically don't know what it was like. So basically it sounds like, I'm going to read like the inside flap. Yumiko was born in Japan but has made a life in London, losing herself in its cosmopolitan bustle. The culture she grew up in seems very far away until her brother phones with the news that their father has died. So it sounds like it's kind of a cultural understanding novel, a person coming to terms with their own culture and kind of reconciling being born or being raised in dual cultures. And so that just sounds really interesting, but mostly I'm just really excited to get to the beautiful, beautiful artwork inside the novel. Next up is a book that I have am basically obsessed with. I read the web comic when it was out, and then this came out and I immediately got it and read it. And I'm going to read it again because it's just so friggin' adorable. It's Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. If you haven't heard me talk about her before, Noelle Stevenson is like my Women Crush Wednesday forever, for life. She is absolutely wonderful to follow on Twitter. I just love her drawing style. Nimona is about a girl named Nimona who goes and petitions the basically evil villain of a story to help be his like fellow evil villain and take down the overly good lion-hearted main hero. So it's just a twist on kind of your fairy tale tropes. Noelle Stevenson also does Lumberjanes, as well as a number of other graphic works that she contributes to. If you haven't read it yet, please, please, please pick it up. You will fly through it. It is absolutely adorable, and I'm so, so excited to read it again. The next one on the list is a reread for the Booktube SFF Awards, which if you have not heard about that, I will link to it down below. The short list is out and the August read-alongs have officially begun because we are into the beginning of August. And so I am rereading the first volume of Rat Queen, Sass and Sorcery. If you guys are with me in a book group on Voxer, if you guys read my old blog or have watched any of my recent videos, you know how much I am absolutely fucking obsessed with the Rat Queens. I love them. They are an all-lady mercenary group who travel around the world together having adventures. There are drugs and sexy times and rock and roll and wit and humor and just ladies being badasses. It celebrates all kinds of types, tropes, shapes, colors, all of that. So this is the first volume. It's nominated for Best Graphic Work, and we are doing a reading along of it in August. So I picked up the first one in anticipation for my stuff's falling everywhere. In anticipation for the second one. The first one's called Sass and Sorcery. This one is called The Far-Reaching Tentacles of Ingaroth. I'm really excited for this next one. I'm a little bit wary because if you can see, the art style of this one is different than the art style in the first volume. There were some fairly sketchy things that went down involving sexy times and consent and all that between the former illustrator Rock Upchurch. So they brought in another illustrator, Stefan Sejic, I think is how you would say that, but I have no idea. But yeah, so it's got definitely a different style or a different feel in terms of its illustrations. Hopefully the content is still on point. But yes, I've been waiting for my hold on the second Rat Queens to come in for forever. So I am so excited to finally get to read it. Next up on the list are several sets of the first 2 volumes. That is how I like to get graphic novels from the library. I feel like with graphic novels, you have to give them at least the first 2 volumes before you can really make a decision. So I have volume 1 of Sweet Tooth, Out of the Deep Woods, and volume 2 of Sweet Tooth, In Captivity, both by Jeff Lemire. These are about basically a post kind of apocalyptic world where the survivors have become human-animal hybrids. So it is about Gus, who is a human male deer hybrid, and basically just his adventures. That's really all I know. Inside, it's got that comic booky paper, that really matte, like old trade issue comic book paper, which I'm not the hugest fan of. Sometimes it's a little off-putting when I'm actually in the process of reading it, but hopefully it won't bother me because I've heard some really good things about Sweet Tooth, so I'm really looking forward to it. I also have the first 2 volumes of Morning Glories. This basically sounds kind of like Dawson's Creek meets Buffy meets Gossip Girl. It's not the Bone Clocks, Skull and Dagger. Yeah, is that the Yale Secret Society? I think it is. Anyway, it's, you know, teens in boarding school having like crazy murder, sexy time, like adventures. As you can see, there's fighting, there's attacking, there's crazy things going on. This is the comic style I prefer, a little bit more comic-y with that really heavy color wash, as opposed to that pencil effect. I'm just really excited to get into these. I have kind of an affinity for prep school stories, so hopefully these end up panning out as well as I think they will. Next up, this is actually, I specifically chose these to fill one of the challenges for the Booktubeathon. I'm not really planning on fulfilling too many of them because I'm focusing so much on graphic novels, but one of them that I did really like was read a book that's somebody else's favorite. I just thought that was a really cool challenge. So I've read these before, but these are my brother's favorite graphic novels. They were the first graphic novels I ever read, and I read them because they were his favorite, but I haven't read them since the first time I ever read them. So they are the first 2 volumes of the Sandman graphic novels. The first one is called Preludes and Nocturnes. The second one is called The Doll's House, and that is like the creepiest fucking graphic novel cover I've ever seen. If you have no idea what they are about, basically they are about the Sandman, Morpheus, who is on several quests to and through hell for a number of reasons. Each volume follows the Sandman as he interacts with different characters and with different kind of entities in his life, as well as telling, those are all kind of framed around other stories. They're really, really dark. They're really dark. They're really violent. So just be forewarned with that, but they're absolutely amazing. If you haven't read them yet, they're some of my favorite Neil Gaiman They definitely are my favorite of Neil Gaiman on his kind of darker side. So yes, the first 2 volumes in Sandman. Next up we have the first / second, just like some other stuff that I wanted to kind of finish up. I have the 2nd volume of Alex and Ada. I read the 1st volume in a day and I was absolutely obsessed with it. This is kind of like the movie Lars and the Real Girl, but not. This is set in the future where you can order basically AI who are as close to sentient as possible without being sentient, and you can order them as like companion figures, so they will provide like sexual companionship and housework and just general like friendship and all of these things. And Alex is gifted Ada by his grandmother, and he kind of slowly comes to realize that he doesn't like the robot Ada. He wants Ada to be able to kind of have her own opinions and not just be a program figure. So he kind of finds this underground network of people who can like hack the AI and turn her into like a sentient being. So it's a lot about that, the struggles between technology and what makes sentience and choice, and what happens if like Alex does this and then he doesn't like the choices Ada makes, and a lot of these things. It's a really, really beautifully drawn. It's really beautifully drawn, and I just think it's really interesting, and I'm interested to see where the story goes from here. I'm also finally starting Y the Last Man, although you guys have seen this on several TBRs so far. They've all been horrible, horrible lies because I'm a horrible, horrible person, and I'm finally going to start it. This is about what happens when a virus attacks the world and pretty much literally all the men die except for this one and his monkey, and he just kind of has adventures. I'm not really sure what happens from there, but I'm really excited about it. I've seen it recommended in a number of places. I'm also super, super excited for this next one. This is the 1st volume in the Lazarus series. It is basically about a world in which each family can hire a Lazarus, and the Lazarus is kind of like a bodyguard / mercenary for the family. They're kind of like the knight standard who goes around and protects the family's honor and protects their interests and stands for them and all of this. And this girl right here, let's see, does it say her name? Forever is her name, and she is the Lazarus for the family Carlisle, and so it is all about her. I don't know anything else about it. P.T. Holton talked about it and made it sound absolutely interesting, and then Caitlin from Kitty G told me that she really, really liked it, so I'm looking forward to getting to it in the Booktubeathon. And last but not least, one that you guys saw me mention in the library loot not too long ago. This is Satan's Prepa graphic novel, and it basically, the inner flap describes it as the Breakfast Club meets Dante's Inferno, and I just like, how can you not be okay with that? There's some of the inside, and I don't know anything else about it other than that premise, but that premise is more than enough for me. Again, it's got that really exaggerated kind of cartoon style that I prefer in my graphic novels. It seems like it'll be a fairly quick read. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to getting through all of them. I have a couple other alternates and a couple other things I might start. I'm also listening to a couple things on audiobook that I'd like to get finished, including Caitlin Moran's How to Be a Woman, which is the first time I've ever listened to it on audiobook, and it's even better than it was in print. But yes, that wraps up my TBR for the Booktubeathon. I will be around all this week on the social media, so give me a shout out if you would like. I may or may not be back tomorrow, depending on how the wind blows and the weather strikes, but if I don't see you then, everybody like, comment, subscribe, and have happy reading. Bye.